Hello, 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 everyone. So I know it's been a little while since I have posted, and I'm sorry about the dogs barking. I am house sitting for a friend, and house sitting, dog sitting, and also staying here with their teenage son. So they have four dogs, and the three of them are really big dogs, and they're so sweet and precious, and I've been spoiling them rotten. One of them stayed in here with me. Here he is. Say hi, Jack. Jack, say hi. So that's Jack, and he is the biggest of all three, but um, they've all three been sleeping in the bed with me, so I have to kind of squeeze out a spot in the bed to sleep. There's a littler dog too. His name is Charlie, and Charlie sleeps in their son's room, but he hangs out with me sometimes too. So here's Charlie. Charlie, say hi. So he hangs out with me, but at bedtime he goes and sleeps in the son's room. So anyway, it's been an interesting week. Um, the weather, oh Lord, we got a winter storm. And here where I'm at, we probably got maybe 6 inches, but it wasn't just snow, it was snow and freezing rain and ice. So it's kind of all packed down. But me and I'll just call him Jay. Me and Jay, I don't give out names on here because um, privacy reasons, I'm happy to share my own name and everything. But anyway, sorry. So Jay and I made a run because he wanted to go to the Asian grocery store because he wanted some kimchi, and I needed propane for the propane tank that's in the garage. So we did make a little run today, but the roads were thankfully mostly clear. The road that they live on isn't clear, but they did leave me I'm driving their Ford Explorer, so it does pretty good on the snow and ice. So not having any issues with driving, thank God. So I work from home, which is the reason why that I agreed to do this for them, because I knew that I wouldn't have to commute back and forth to work. I just had to bring my computer here. I said I can stay the week and I can, stay at your house because I work from home. So the other two dogs just came in. I got to show you. One is Princess. Say hi, Princess. Hi. And then this one down here is Kylie. Kylie. Oh, Kylie, say hi. So Princess likes to be really, really close to me. And she is always literally right here, as you can see her. Yeah. And she always has to have a paw on me too. She has to be touching me. But she's precious. So my brother and I have had a discussion about dogs. And he said that he had heard this from a little boy one time, that the reason why dogs don't live as long as humans is because dogs don't have anything else left to learn when they leave this life, because they they love unconditionally. They get it from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? And my saying, and I always say, is we don't deserve dogs. But I'm a big dog lover, as you can see, and it doesn't matter whose dog it is. When I meet people out in public, if they have a dog with them, I always ask, of course, before I pet them, can I pet your dog? And then I always ask the dog's name. And I usually end up knowing the dog's name and not the person's name. And I always say, I like dogs more than I do most people. But anyway, I digress. So I did want to also give a disclaimer from the last video. My last video that I posted was about religious trauma. And if you haven't watched it, you can go back and watch it so you know what I'm talking about. But I just want to say that the things that I experienced with religion, I do not hold any contempt whatsoever in any way, shape, form, or fashion against my parents for what happened or what I experienced with religion, because it had nothing to do with them. I mean, they introduced us to it, yes, but my parents were doing what they thought was best for our family. That's what they were doing. Now, because they were told some things and believed some things that may or may not have been the right path to go down, that's not their fault. And it is not, I had a wonderful childhood, and I'm thankful every day for the childhood I had and for both of my parents. And I had, and still, well, my mother's still living, but I had a really, really close relationship with my father. He passed away in 2016. And when I was born, I was told that, and I see my baby pictures too, I was like his twin. And one of the preachers that was at one of the church they were going to at the time, my mom said he came up to the hospital and he looked into he was at the nursery and he just pointed me out and he said, "Oh, there's Brother Jim right there," because I look just like my dad. So it helps me a lot now because when I look in the mirror, I see him, and so I don't have to miss him so much. I mean, I miss him every day, but he's always around. So that is the one thing that is comforting, is my dad is always around and watching over us. So I do appreciate that. And anyway, but I did want to mention that disclaimer that in no way, shape, or form do I blame or hold any contempt towards my parents, because I had and still have amazing parents. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a cold. And I've been dealing with a little bit of, like, not laryngitis. I can still talk, but my voice has definitely been affected. A little froggy. I'm a little froggy. So, pardon me for that. So, anyway, we'll get into today's topic. So, in the last video, I also mentioned that I had been married 3 times, and I just have so many stories that I can tell on the topic of dating, relationships, men, marriage, the whole 9 yards. So it's all going to come in pieces. I'm not going to tell everything at once, but like I said, I'm going to write a book. So that's coming. That's forthcoming. It's going to take me a while to write it, but yeah, I'm going to write a book. So I today thought about it, and I was like, let me talk about my second marriage. So I had said in the other video, he was my sister-in-law's brother. And when I met him, he had just gotten out of prison. Okay, I'm not going to say what he was in prison for, because that is not my story to tell. That's his story. So, but he had been in prison for 13 years. So he'd been in there quite a while. And he had just gotten out. So I was in my 20s. I'm 53 now, so this was a long time ago. And I know a lot of you women can relate when I say that when you're young, you'll say, "Ooh, I want to date me a thug. I want a thug. Oh, they're just so this and so that." Let me just tell you, no, you don't. No, you don't. Just don't even think about it. It's not what you want. But anyway, he really was, though. He was a thug. And when it started out, of course, like most relationships, everything started out great. And, we were just this happy couple and enjoying each other and getting to know each other and whatnot. And then literally the weekend after we got married, the very weekend after, he leaves the house and he goes out and he is gone all night and into the next day. He did not get home until the next day it was a Friday when he left, got home around 11 o'clock on Saturday. This was literally right after we got married. Now, we all know, anybody that has had experience in life especially, we know that no man or woman, for that matter, stays out all night unless they're up to something that is, unless they're up to no good. So, of course, even at that age, I could read him like a book, and I was like, I knew what he had been up to. But of course, like everybody, like most people, he's not going to own up to it. He's not going to admit it or whatever. So I didn't have proof of anything, but that was just how it started, y'all. That's how it started. So during the time that we were only married for 1 year, and a lot of times when people ask me how many times I've been married, I'll say twice. And I'll say, well, I was actually married 3 times, but I don't count the second one. It wasn't even as long as some, relationships. But anyway, it was like I lived a lifetime in that year. I swear to God, I lived a lifetime. There was so much stuff that happened. And like he ended up, like he was able to get work pretty easily when he got out of prison, which was good because a lot of times that's not easy for people. And he was able to get good jobs. He was a hard worker. I could not take that away from him. Hard worker, you know, wasn't one of those people that was like depending on someone else to take care of him. And he, paid half the bills and all of that. So I didn't have any problems with that. But then he decided that he wanted to be a truck driver. Good Lord have mercy. So he went to truck driving school, and then he goes on the road, but he's in training. So he's on the road with this other guy. And this other guy is just as wild as a buck. And he's an older guy, but he does drugs and just crazy and wild. And so he's done got himself mixed up with this guy. And then they had this thing set up where you could get your paycheck early. Like you could get a advance on your pay at certain truck stops. And then he was out in, I think, New Mexico. I don't even know where he was. And I remember him calling me, and he had been at the casino and he gambled away all of his money. And then he was like, I got to get more money because I gambled away my money. So it started to get, where he wasn't being responsible financially and all of that. But there was just so much stuff that happened. I don't even really remember all of it because it was a long time ago, and I probably blocked a lot of it out because it's a blur. And I know some of you women know what I mean, and I'm sure some of you men do too, because, I'm not one of these people that thinks all men are bad, and even though I've had some pretty interesting experiences when it comes to men. But anyway, he was just he had just gotten out of prison. He had no business getting married, period. He should have just been out there sowing his little oats and being free. I don't even know why he wanted to get married, but it should have never happened. He never got married again, I can tell you that. But he was cheating on me with some girl, and I remember she called me on the phone, and oh my God, I just remember telling her, I didn't even get mad about it. I was just like, you can have him. He can have him. He's your problem now. Take him off my hands. But it ended up that he was like, I found a newspaper, well, I guess I got to tell y'all something else. But anyway, I found a newspaper. This was back before we had internet, but it was before you did everything online. It was before Craigslist. It was before all of that. And when you wanted to find a place to live, when you wanted to find a job, you looked in the classifieds. That's what you did. So I found a newspaper where he had circled all of these apartments. And I'm like, what's this about? What are you doing? And so ends up telling me that this girl that he was seeing, that he was trying to get an apartment. He said he was going to get an apartment on the side. It was an apartment for her, basically. And that's when I said, look, buddy, I think this marriage was over before it started. And I said, you just need to go on and pack your stuff and you need to get on out of here. And he did. But on our 1 year anniversary, you know how when you get married, not everybody does this, but you can take the top of your cake and you freeze it and you're supposed to eat it on your 1 year anniversary. So we had done that. We had frozen the cake top. And like I said in the other video, we did go to church. We went to the church my dad pastored. So we had gone. This was on our anniversary fell on a Sunday. So we we went to church and we come home. And I used to when I had this habit on Sundays. Got home from church, ate, and I had to take a nap. It was nap time. Thankfully, this day my daughter was older. She was, I think, around 8 or 9 years old at this time. But anyway, she was gone with her dad. Her dad, when him and I split up, we didn't have like any special arrangements for when he saw her or whatever. He could just have her, as long as it didn't interfere with something that we had to do. He could just have her when he wanted her. So he would just, come and get her and take her wherever to see his family or to do whatever. So he had her. He had my daughter. So it was just him and I home. And so I go to take a nap. I wake up from my nap and my husband, he's sitting at our desk where we had a computer. I can see the screen. He's facing the screen, so he don't know I'm awake. And he's on some singles like dating site thing. I don't know which one it was. I can't remember, but I just saw what he was doing. And I lost it. I had put up with so much of his stuff that I was just like, I am so done with this man. And I remember I knocked the monitor off the desk because I remember it hanging from the cord and it was like swinging. It was like swinging off the desk. And I was like, I don't remember what all I said, but then I remember the reason I mentioned the cake. It was sitting on the kitchen counter. And so I went out there and I went out to the kitchen and I saw the cake and I picked it up. It was just, the top, and I threw it. I remember it hit the wall and it like started just going like the frosting and everything was going down the wall. And then I took my wedding rings off and I threw those. And then I left and I just got on the road and I just drove because I was like, I just got to get out of here. I ended up driving like about an hour down south on 65. I-65 is, anyway, the highway, that big highway here. So I drove an hour south 65 and I went to this, it's a place we used to go to all the time when we were kids, and called Cave City. And they have like Mammoth Cave there, and they have, they used to have this place called Guntown Mountain, which I could tell more stories about. And then the exit before that was Horse Cave, and they had a hotel there that we used to always stay at. So I went there. It was called the Budget Host Inn in Horse Cave, Kentucky. So I stopped there and I got me a room and I stayed the night there, and I watched TV and just relaxed and just, and then not long after that was when we actually did split up, and then of course we got divorced. But when I say that I lived a lifetime in 1 year, it is no lie. And when you're young, and when I met him too, I had been single for quite a while. I hadn't dated anybody in a long time. I don't even know why, but I hadn't. And so I know that you people who are around my age ever remembers Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy did 2 pretty major comedy specials. He did Raw, and he did oh God, I can't remember what the other one was called. It was when he wore the red leather suit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I think it was in Raw when he talked about, it's been a long time. I'm not going to get graphic on here or nothing, but what he said, it's been a long time since you've been with someone. He said, it's like you're starving and somebody gives you a cracker. And he's like, well, that's the best cracker I've ever had. That cracker is so good. And so that's kind of how I felt like when we started dating. I was like, oh my God, I haven't been with anybody in so long. And it's just so wonderful to get all this attention. And he would always be waiting for me. He'd be parked outside my house when I got home from work, waiting for me to get home so we could hang out. And it just felt so good to get all that attention, and I was just enamored with that. And he was very charming too, so of course he charmed me, but it was just a matter of a bad decision on both parts, not just his but mine, just to even get married to begin with. And like I said, I was definitely ready to settle down, but he was not, and he should have had that time to be on his own and be single and sow his oats. But anyway, that was that marriage. And while we were married, one thing I made sure of is that I was very diligent about taking birth control because I knew I never wanted to have any children with him, and thank God I didn't. My daughter is my only child, and I had her with my first husband, with whom I dated in high school, and then we got married after high school. But anyway, that's another story which I'll tell in another video. But she's my only child, so I never did have any more kids. But I definitely wasn't having any with him, and I was very diligent about that because I was like, yeah, no. Plus, he had like I don't even remember how many kids he had. He had a bunch. He had like 4, I think, maybe 5. I don't know. And of course, they were all like different mothers and that kind of thing. You know how it is. But he had enough kids. He didn't need any more. And it wasn't that I didn't want more kids. It just never worked out for me that way. But I definitely knew I wasn't having them with him. Nope. So, I like to tell these kind of stories because you can look back and laugh at things. It definitely wasn't funny at the time, but like I said, I lived a lifetime in a year. There's more to it. There's more that happened, but we'll save that for another time. But I always say that I would like my life to be a lesson for people. Like, I'm not one of those people that shies away from um, admitting my mistakes or to, nobody's perfect, and I just, I made my fair share of mistakes. I definitely picked some doozies when it came to men. I certainly did. And, I've got stories, definitely got stories. So I will be telling more of them because I want to keep you all coming back and keep you all listening. So if you could please subscribe and like this video and comment and all of those things, because all of those things really help with pushing the videos into the algorithm and getting more views and those kind of things. So that would really help. I am just one person and I'm starting this off doing it all by myself. And the one thing I did forget to bring when I came here to stay is I had gotten some new microphones and I have my other equipment that I use, and I forgot to bring it. I had it all packed in a bag and forgot to bring it. So I had to just record just me and my phone. But the next time I'll have my microphone and things, so that should help. But yeah, I just would ask that you keep engaged, just engage with the video. Tell your friends about it. I'm going to keep making them. So this is my 3rd episode. And of course, I plan to keep making these. And I appreciate all of your support. And I do appreciate feedback and all of that. So I hope everyone is staying warm, and I hope everyone has power, because I know around here we didn't lose power, thank God, but I know a lot of people have. So as a result of the storm. and the ice on the power lines. So I hope everybody's doing well and everybody stays warm. Mwah.